Okay, looks like we got a live stream running, and I'm Moshe, and I'm in Israel, in Galilee, where I've lived for many years, and it's now 8:31 Holy Land time here in Israel, and the temperature, I don't know why the house is freezing right now, but I'm trying to make the temperature work. What's going on here? Having an issue with the weather. Let's see if I can resolve it for a second or two. And it's botched up. Yeah, I don't know. It's a lousy app. It's going to be sunny and reasonably warm today. Okay, probably 70, 72, something like that. Today's the 13th of April, 2026. So what we're going to talk about today is the blockade that Trump's putting on starts. I'm getting conflicts on the timing, okay? The conflicts are hours apart. What I'm told is it'll start about 1 p.m. Israel time, or maybe that was 1 p.m. Saudi Arabia time, but in reality, Saudi is like on the same time as us, except they don't move their clock an hour. So it's basically about the same time. So it might be 1 o'clock. Well, I don't know why we're using Saudi time. Look, I don't know what, it's either 10 o'clock East Coast time or 1 o'clock in the afternoon Israel time. If it is 10 o'clock, it'll probably be 6 o'clock here, something like that. So sometime in the next few hours, they're going to start the blockade. That's really it, okay? And I'm going to get into the details with you, how it's going to work, what the effect they're looking for, and then we're going to talk about why nobody's attacking Iran with bombs, no Israel, no America bombing them anymore right now. What's going on with Lebanon, and did Saudi Arabia actually do some sort of a deal behind the scenes, which is a shocking deal, and I'll go through it with you, and it involves such a massive amount of money. It's probably got Kuwait, Qatar, UAE, maybe Bahrain in on it. Behind the scenes, they're afraid to come out in public. And I'm going to go through this with you, and I'll explain to you why I think it's real, and of course, why it's not in mainstream media. Now, when you go to AI, I don't care which AI you use, and you give them a story like this and you say, is this true? They say no. And when you ask it why, or it really tells you, it says because it's not in the mainstream media. What does that mean? Reuters, AP, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, New York Post, they didn't carry the story. Well, they would never carry a story like this because they're told not to, and they can't get what they call official verification, so they're afraid to carry it. And I'll go through it with you. And I think it's in whole or part probably true, most likely true. So you've got to watch yourself. Look, that's how AI verifies a news story if it's true or not. Now, I get a lot of news stories that come in from social media and they sound outlandish and crazy, okay? And then I run it through AI because these are things that would get picked up. Like some guy puts up, there's a dam about to break in America and they're doing evacuations. Now, that's not something that's going to be obliterated or not appearing in local news. How could that be? It wouldn't be. Okay. So I punched that into AI and it says, no, I got nothing on that. So then I say to myself, well, it sounds to me one of two things. The evacuation order just came out and it didn't pick it up yet, which I doubt. Or the guy exaggerated it, they put in the governor's planning on an evacuation if things get worse. So then they start talking evacuation order. So I don't have the time to listen to these guys' videos. I take their headline and I punch it into AI to see what comes up. So this didn't come up right. If there's a volcano or an earthquake, AI is going to find it. Now, there might be disputes because they downgrade the intensity of the earthquake normally, that kind of thing. But you're going to know there was an earthquake, or you'll know a volcano erupted, or you'll know there was a hurricane or a flood. Okay, it'll come up. Okay. Now, Erdogan did something that I don't think I talked about yesterday. Maybe I did. I don't think so. Erdogan, I don't believe so. Erdogan said that if Israel starts messing with this peace deal with Iran, that they're going to be like infuriated and they could take military action and they got missiles that could reach Israel and that is something I wouldn't take with a great deal of significance. Okay. It's Erdogan barking noises. Okay. And he's trying to get Israel to not attack Iran and not attack Lebanon. And Israel is not going to listen to him, nor is the United States. And we know that he will do something to Israel. Israel will do something to him. But I have a feeling that is going to be post redemption. We have in Genesis 15 been given from the Euphrates to the Nile, and about 2/3 of Turkey is our land. And in Psalm 83, it's referencing the Hittites, which is Turkey. So they're going to go, but I'm not so sure they're going to go this week or next week. And don't be so sure Trump and Israel are not going to attack Iran, because the indications are quite strong they will, but not right now. Trump is still dreaming on with getting the Iranian oil. So he's doing everything he can to topple the regime or bust them out and still come back and get their oil. See, a blockade doesn't destroy their oil. He could stop a blockade, with one memo. Within 10 minutes, it's over. CENTCOM sends a secure message to the ships, blockade over, stand down. That's it. It's over. Gold's not going up. It's staying around where it is in the 4,700s, and silver's staying around the 74 mark. And the oil has gone up unusually a little while ago this morning. WTI was coming in at 104 a barrel on the paper. The futures, the real oil is somewhat higher, and the Brent was coming in under at 102, which is really a freak show. Brent is usually higher. Okay, all right. So we got enough to talk about that's going to be real interesting. Okay, and I'm going to get into some prophecy talking too about Israel and how a lot of these Christians say they're going to leave the land. And I'm going to give you the scriptures that are very plain as day in black and white with no uncertainty. It's going to show you Israel is never going to leave the land again. And that's back in, since we've been here in 48, or you could even throw it back to the Balfour Declaration. But I would start in 48. And I'm going to show you that a lot of people are, of course, the churches aren't going to likely tell you this, but the birth pangs, rumors, wars, and rumors of wars, guys, go back to relevancy here. 1917 Balfour Declaration. We got the land. That was the British fighting here, the Ottoman Empire. We got a good piece of the land. Fast forward to 1948, and then the British left, and we declared independence from nobody because the British left already, and renamed the place Israel, the land. It's really Judah and Jerusalem, but they elected to do that. All right. Now, around the Balfour Declaration preceding it in 1914, we had World War One, a world war. Okay? And preceding the 1948 expansion of the Jews having the land, we had a World War II, world at war. Got it? Wars and rumors of war. And what happened? Well, the birthing was moving forward. We got more of the land. Then we're going to get more and more of it. Okay? And of course, we've had this flurry of wars for almost 3 years now. Well, it's over 2.5, I think. Let me see what I got going on here. These idiots, I can't believe what they're doing. I hate WhatsApp. I can't stand it. It just makes, it's such a, I mean, it's got a very good value when people want to use it for conversations for free around the world. I agree with that it's a valuable, I don't know what they want. Let me take a look. I don't want to start translating technical Hebrew in my head. It takes too long and I can make a mistake. I don't have a fluency in regular street Hebrew. I know a good amount of stuff in the Bible, the Hebrew, but they don't speak real Hebrew here. They speak Ben Yehuda modern Hebrew. Not the same thing. So let me just run translate on it. It's quicker. Boom. All right, it was actually good news. Somebody funded the purchase of a replacement for the tablet that kicked the bucket. It was they sent it to me. I could have got it in an email. Okay, they sent it to me. Okay, so the one that kicked the bucket, it was a Samsung tablet. Now I think Samsung makes very, very good phones, but I don't think they make good tablets. I learned a bad lesson. So it was at most 2 years old, probably less maybe. And it just started breaking, like it would be upside down. And I had to keep inverting it. And I would start with the video and it was right side up. And then when I did the video, I had to rotate it again. And when the video would come on, it would tell me that the video just started. It was on 5 seconds. And it would tell me it's been on for 12 minutes or 7 minutes. And then it really broke. It started giving me a spinning circle, like it was trying to close the video, but it couldn't close it, and the thing froze. So I couldn't even close the video properly. I had to shut the tablet off, and then eventually YouTube, and within, it could be an hour, it could be 2 hours. It eventually realizes the live stream's been stopped, and it and it closes it out, and it loaded it up. What is this here? No, that's just a post. I didn't realize. Okay, so I went to buy a replacement yesterday, and man, I had to recover from the broadcast, and then I started in the afternoon. And boy, it's what you call a high ticket item, and they're not in, because there's so many men in the reserves and women in the military too. They're active, they're not working. So I would assume that's the reason, because you can't reach them on the phone. I tried 3 locations, 3 different sellers, 2 of which I bought from before, one of which is a pretty well-known one. I couldn't reach anybody on the phone. And they no longer have a sales phone, they just have service phones. And you get on there, there's a lot of Hebrew gobbledygook about push this button, push that button, do this. And it just, eventually, nothing happens. They tell you they'll call you back. It's a waste of time. And I'm told that they don't want to take orders on the phone for high end. Anyway, so I had to do it online. They put me through such security measures on this and drove me crazy. It took me maybe an hour or at least 45 minutes to fill all their forms out, get through all the cockamamie lunatic security checks, and place the order. And I did. I got it. I got it placed. So then they said, this morning I just got it. We already packed it, and it's going to the shipper. So I should have it by the end of the week. I actually did go for another iPad. I investigated the other products, and this new iPad, it's a 2025 model, has a much, much better screen, and it has a better processor, and I think it's more advanced. The one I have, I believe I acquired it in 2023, and it could have been 2022, probably 2023, and it's not as good as this one. This one's a better deal. So I thought I would go for that. I have low vision, so the screen has better contrast and more detail and stuff than the other screens are going to have, especially indoors, and it's really good outdoors for ending reflection. But there's 2 kinds of screens you could get. I got the one that's good for indoors, and it's going to last longer. It's just a better option. I know I don't like the iPads and stuff, but I had a taste of what the others have to offer. And my wife loves this Lenovo. I think she has. You can pull it out of the stand in the keyboard, and it becomes like a tablet. You can put it back in, but I don't know what the operating. It's Windows, I believe, and it's heavy, and I don't know how to. I'm not interested in that. The Apple computers are really a scary thing because there's no apps for them. So few people buy them. And, so few people now are buying tablets. They're just using phones. And I can't, because my vision's not good enough to work with just the phone. It's just too hard. A little keypad on the phone, and it's just difficult for me. And I've got very big hands. It makes it worse, even with great vision. So I mean, it was a rough decision. I wanted to get away from the Apple products, but what am I going to go to? Nothing. So when I get it, I think all I got to do is put them next to each other with Bluetooth, the old one I have now and the new one, and in about 10 or 15 minutes, it'll transfer everything over. Or I might have to plug a cable into both of them, and then it'll probably transfer over in 3 minutes. And I'll have everything set up. It gets everything set up just really fast. So I don't have to, if I bought a Windows system or something like that, it would probably take me till I got the thing set up and running the way I like it 2 weeks. Where this will just go right away. I mean, it'll just boom, you know, there'll be nothing to it. It'll go quick and easy. And that's what I'm going to do. So hopefully I'll have it this week and we'll set it up and that'll be better. Now, the iPad I have now, I don't use it to broadcast, I use it to work with. It's a little on the blink, but nothing like this. It shows some on one browser. I get problems on one browser. That's not the software system. That's the browser not interfacing correctly with them. I couldn't buy the. I use Chrome a lot. I couldn't buy the tablet with Chrome. I had to use Firefox to buy it. I mean, they gave me such aggravation. You couldn't just sign in. And I purchased from these people before, over the years, many things. And you can't just go sign in. They want, your Apple or Google sign in, which is okay. I was able to do that. And then they want to verify this and that. Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. These people were trying to throw business away. I know customer service in Israel is horrible or non-existent, but these people are trying to chase customers away. I don't know what they want. They want you to come into the store and check your national ID and the credit card. I don't know what they want, but getting out and traveling around for me is usually a difficulty. So I just try to do it this way, and it went through. But what a job! Oh man! All right. So right now we're on the backup, which is a phone that I got. It must be a year and a half ago, maybe longer. I don't know. But I don't use the phone for a phone. I just use it for broadcasting. So when I had that tablet, it was just sitting turned off in the drawer. So it's not been used much, and it's a good one. It's a Samsung, so it's pretty good. Okay, let me go into the live. So that's just the chit chat of what's going on. I thought I'd give an update. So you can pray for the person that supported the purchase of the tablet. I don't want to put the person's name out there, but it'd be good to pray for him that the Lord blesses him because he was blessing us. I suggest you do that. I'll tell you what, I'll do the prayer, then you can agree with it. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I pray for you to bless the one that contributed the funds to purchase the new tablet. And it says you will curse those that curse us and bless those that bless us. I pray you bless this person. And I submit this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you guys that are believers can please agree with this, even if it's a video on the video, not a live stream. And it'll work. The Lord will honor it. And it'll be more powerful. And this person will get blessed. And there you have it. Okay, let's take a look at our live stream. Starting with, do we have a live stream? It looks like we have a live stream. Okay. Let me see. Now, if you want to help the channel, or what's good to do is subscribe. You can always unsubscribe, right? And put a real comment in, not a comment in the chat, the real comments. Or you can put one in the chat, it helps a little bit. So the dweebs that come in here and put nasty quotes in there, do they help or hurt us? They don't do much one way or the other, to be honest with you, but it hurt. Taking them down, the post down hurts a tiny bit, really not much. Um, Putting posts up that don't need to be taken down uh, is a good thing. Yeah, it is not a good thing either. But overall, the posting in the chat one way or another does very, very little. The Apple are expensive, but they tend to do a better job. What I have to be very careful of is how many microphones does this device that I'm going to buy have? Well, the Apple has 4 microphones, so it broadcasts just peachy. You got to watch that. You got to pay attention to a lot of things, That's what it is, Okay. See, I don't know what it, but the colors on this model are there when I watch a video, like I'm watching YouTube, I see different colors, but I don't see, um, let me get this better. But I don't see the colors vividly. It was the same on the other device, the Android, the Samsung Android. I didn't see vivid colors either on that one. Now, if I look at my screen where I got all the icons with different colors, I see vivid colors. So I don't think it's necessarily my vision, but okay, I'm going to put a post up real quick, and that'll take probably seconds is all. I'll give you an update on what's going on with the incoming missiles. It's not all that quiet because it's quieting down. The Hezbollah in Lebanon keep firing at us, but we're dismantling them, and it's getting noticeable, the reduction. So it's probably, what do we have, Monday? Probably by Wednesday even, it's going to be much less. So nothing woke us up during the night. The dogs didn't get up howling or anything like that. And it seems to be quieter, so we'll see how it goes. I don't know yet, but it looks like it's going good. Iran's not shooting at us. They're not shooting at the Middle Eastern oil, the countries, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, Jordan, Saudi. They're not actively shooting. Houthis are doing nothing. So let me do some praise, because we are a Bible-believing site, Old and New Testament, and you could join the, I mean, anybody could join the praise, and we'll go from there. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. So what is this blockade going to do? That's a good question. Well, he's going to control who goes in and out of the Persian Gulf. There's a pincher point where it's narrow, I think maybe 30, 40 miles or something, 30 miles, around 30 miles. They're called Straits of Hormuz. When you go in the Persian Gulf, you go up and then you turn around, then you go in. And that straits is like a peak where you go up and it's close to Iran and the other side of the Persian Gulf. It's rather close. So that's where Iran is, has been closing the shipping. So what Trump is doing is he's going to control everything. Okay. So if you want to go in to the Persian Gulf, you're going to get stopped or you'll get interviewed maybe on the radio, and they'll ask you where you're going, who you're going to, what is your purpose of your trip, and all this stuff, right? Now, if you're going in and you've got a 75-foot fishing boat, and they're going to ask you what country you're going to, where are you from? If you tell them you're Iranian and you're going back to Iran, they're going to stop you. They're not going to let that happen. So the ships going to Iran and from Iran are finished. That's not happening. So Iran's not going to be able to push any ships out at all with oil or LNG or pistachio nuts or bricks or sandals or anything. Nothing's leaving. Okay? Nothing's coming in. Is famine going to come about? Yeah, unless Trump starts letting food in and you could smuggle weapons in food. You could send a ship of containers of potato chips, and you got 300 containers and 30 of them are missiles or something. You don't know. You're not going to open them all. So, Trump's got issues, right? Yeah. Iran's got a problem, and he's not bombing them now. First thing you got to remember is him and Netanyahu got all the sites they wanted to get. There was, I think Israel did 10,000 and America did 13,000 bombing runs. Do you understand? There's the devastation they took. Then they started tolls, $2 million a ship. Trump was so mad about that because they're hijacking everything, that he went and he made a statement that all the American vessels are going to interdict any ship that ever paid a toll to Iran in the recent days or weeks. They're going to do something to those ships, maybe confiscate the ship or something, because he's now saying that was illegal for you to pay the toll to get in. Okay. And I think India was paying the tolls. So what's he going to do there? He's not going to do anything to India. All right. This is whatever's left of the Iranian economy is finished. So Trump's sitting there, why should I bomb them? You know, let's see if we can bring them to a deal. We're just closing the Persian Gulf without bombing them. Because it's not a bloodletting, okay? You're not destroying anything. You're not destroying the Persian Gulf. You're just controlling it, okay? So is that a sound approach? It's reasonably sound if you look at Trump's bottom line motive. And his bottom line motive is, I want the oil from Iran. And that's a dream that is never going to happen. It's not in prophecy. If it did happen, it would be a very brief interlude. I don't see it, but I really don't see it. Okay. Trump wants to be the oil czar, and don't see it. That's not going to happen. This is actually leading us to the destruction of Iran, of Elam, it's called, which would be Iraq also. Because what are the problems they're going to have? Getting medical shipments, they're running out of water. They're really messed up over there. Now, is it possible that the Iranians are going to try to come out of this by shooting missiles and drones? Yeah, you got to give it a 50% chance. You're dealing with psychiatric cases here. You're dealing with people that belong in a hospital for the criminally insane, that stay in there forever unless they get better. Okay. With the naval mines, this is what Trump said. Trump said they don't have any mine-laying vessels. We destroyed them all. Well, I believe Trump's correct. And what he's saying is, when we destroyed them all, there were no naval mines. But they could have laid them with submarines, go-fast boats, other boats. They modified it. I don't know. Trump is actually concerned about that because they have them already in the Middle East, underwater naval drones that are designed to get rid of naval mines. So I guess the drone captures it and blows it up, or I don't know what it does to deactivate it. I don't know. It might be able to tow it someplace, but I think if you start moving the missile after it's put into action, it probably has a mercury switch. Well, no, you couldn't really do that because the waves would keep it moving constantly. So you couldn't use a mercury switch. Maybe it'll work. They just attach some cables to it, and at a safe distance, the drone tows it wherever they want to take it. I don't know what the drones could do. The drone could cut the cable. You see, these mines are not on the surface. They're down below the surface, so they make it way, way harder to spot. You're not going to get it with a visual, With the naval mine, the anti-mine drones, the loss of life and the loss of a ship is going to be zero. What are you going to lose a drone? Nobody's going to get killed. None of the ships are going to sink from that. Okay. Now, the UK and other countries, Trump said, I heard they're coming to send in mine, ships or I guess naval. I don't think they have drones to do this. I think they have ships and they're going to try to deactivate the mines. I think the remedy is you have divers that are trained in deactivating these mines um, get in the water with a suit on and they well, that's what goes on. So anyway, they're getting help now. The other countries, yeah, we'll come with anti-mine ships. We'll help you with the blockade. They're not going to fight, but now that the fight's over, they're going to come in. What do I think is going to happen? I think Iran, I don't know if it's going to be today, tomorrow, Thursday, Sunday, they're going to start firing missiles or launching go-fast boats at the Navy vessels conducting the blockade, likely before any other nations can get a ship into the area, likely before, because they want to make it a deterrent to the other countries. If the other countries see the Iranians attack a American destroyer or a missile cruiser, these countries, you better believe, aren't going to show up to help. Opening up the Straits of Hormuz is you're correcting a violation of international law. They don't want to have to pay $2 million a ship. They don't want to see their oil choke. They got a vested interest in doing that. But they don't have a vested interest in having a war with Iran, which, of course, makes no sense. I agree, it makes no sense, but that's what they are. They've gone too left wing, and they've gone too far with the Mohammedanism, and they won't do anything. Trump went on to say he could destroy Iran in a day. Look, how would you destroy Iran in a day? You blow up the electric generators, with or without human, uh, shields, and the bridges are not that relevant. And you take out the water desalinators and wait 2, 3, 4 days, and you're going to have a massive exodus out of that place. Okay, so if I'm right and it starts at 1 o'clock, we got 4 hours and the blockade will be in effect. But that'll be pretty darn interesting. So Netanyahu's working in sync with Trump. And they had this planned out. And why do I know that? Because a few days ago, Trump opened up Israel. He opened up the airport. He turned the schools back on. You no longer have to attend class in Zoom. You physically go to school. And my wife's back going to the Ulpan again because it's holding classes. And it's relatively quiet. I mean, it's not completely quiet. Hezbollah is still trying to get us, but where we've got boots on the ground, we're bombing like crazy, and they're no Iran, okay? They're going to crumble, okay? They will, okay? They will. Our food prices are still high here. Our gasoline went up. My wife came up with a good one today. She goes to the non-kosher supermarkets. She found another one that is, I think, Russian. There's a lot of Russians living here. In 1990 to 92, around then, or 92, someplace around there. I was living here shortly after. They had a million Russians come in. Now, those million Russians, some of them left, but not that many. And they had children, and the children are grown up working adults now. You know, they're in their 30s, they've finished college, they finished the military, they're out there working, you know. And a lot of them are in their 40s and 50s because they came over here, they were not born here, they came over here as young people. So they're doing okay, you know. Okay. Thinking. So the supermarket, we get sandwich meat. It comes in a plastic container, and they call it pastrami. There's no pastrami in the United States of America that even remotely resembles, looks like, or tastes like this pastrami. It's a complete misuse of the name. Okay, I think it's a pressed meat, perhaps made into sliced meat. It's like chicken and turkey and things like that. Yeah. Anyway, does it taste good? Yeah, it tastes real good. The dogs love it. The dogs are infatuated with it. They'll walk a mile to get a slice of that meat. They love it. Do I like it? Yeah, it's good. You can make sandwiches with it. You could eat whole. So anyway, she found this supermarket sells what they were calling it the same thing. It's named the same and it looks the same and it probably is the same. And the price of it is less than half what you get in the container. It's cheap. It's probably like 60%, 65% cheaper. So she's going to try buying that today. She's got to buy a bulk of it, I think a kilo, which is 2.2 pounds for you Americans. And that's too much for us to eat. You know, there's just the two of us. So we'll put a lot of it in the freezer. We have a freezer and freeze it, and then, you know, that'll work out. So that's what we're doing uh, with that. That ought to be interesting. We try to cut our costs down on the food whenever we can because it's so. It used to be we went. I'm going back maybe 10 years now. We went to the supermarket and we get for 600 shekels, which back then was about $150. Uh, maybe $160. We would get paper towels, toilet paper, cleaning, laundry stuff, dish soap, you know, all that stuff, dishwasher tablets, and, you know, all that stuff, the washing machine stuff, uh, manual clean your dishes stuff, soap and shampoo, and food and bread and meat and whatever you want, you know, bottled water and you know, anything, all of it. And it was at like 600 shekels and it would really last about 10 days. Okay. Today, you're probably looking at about 12 to 1500 shekels. And you need more dollars to buy the shekels because if you're at 1500, if you're at 1200, it's $400. So if we're going to go just conservative, what was about 160 is $400 over the years. So it got worse here, a lot worse. So you have food insecurity. Back then, we didn't sit there and contemplate having to go to other stores to get the meat cheaper. And, we went to the local stores, and that was what we did. And we used to get the good cuts of meat. They didn't cost that much. We were paying 89 shekels a kilo for really good, like entrecote cut, or a ribeye cut, that kind of a really good steak. Now you're paying 139, 149 shekels. But if you're working on dollars, you got to understand what's going on is 90 shekels, let's say 89 shekels today is like $30. Because the dollar is worth 3 shekels now. Not used to be close to 4. Now it's 3. Literally, as of yesterday, $1 bought 3.05 shekels. So I don't think I'm stretching it when I say the dollar buys 3 shekels when it really buys 3.05. I mean, it's not a big difference. So that hurt us because a lot of the offerings come in dollars, so it's a problem. The dollar is on the British pound, the $1.34. So 1 British pound buys $1 and 34 cents, and the euro is about $1.16, $1.18. I can't remember. It's one of the two. I checked it this morning. The gold's in the 4,700s, and the silver's around 74. It was about 75. So they're hovering around. They're doing little movements here and there to keep the trading going, but they're not moving. And like I told you, the WTI oil was $104 a barrel, and the Brent was 102, which is extremely unusual to have Brent lower than WTI. Not that you never see it, it's unusual, So Trump is very worried about oil prices. So he was letting Iran, during the war, sell oil and let the boats move out of the Persian Gulf. And Iran was taking in money. And when it takes in money, it could pay Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis. Okay. Now their oil business is finished. There's no more oil sales. So the first question we have is, what is China going to do? China is sending shipments of weapons to them, to Iran. And Trump was saying any country that gives Iran weapons, I'm hitting them with a 50% tariff. The king of sanctions speaks. So what is China going to do? Well, they were talking about putting sanctions of their own on America. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know. What's Trump likely going to do? Start at 50%. And if they give him more weapons, go to 100%. And, Russia and China are still going to give him weapons. Okay? That's not going to stop. Is China going to pop their cork and invade Taiwan? You got a 50% on that one, They may just skip that part of it and just invade the United States mainland. If you get the mainland United States, DC, the Pentagon, the CIA, the NSA, all of that, Well, the troops that are in Asia, which is probably, maybe 60,000, something like that. They're in Japan, they're in South Korea. No, it's probably about 75. You got some in Taiwan, and then you got, of course, Guam, but that's a US base. So, you know, they're they're there in some strength, but far from enough. Um, See, China and Russia would still like to see America get overextended in the Middle East, but right now that's not happening. Okay. And what is happening is the destruction of Iran. And it is recompenses. It's called the year of recompenses, but they make translation errors. The word for year in the Hebrew Bibles, all of them, is it's in that prophecy of Isaiah 34:8, the year of recompenses. The word for year is not the word for year. The word for year is Shana. That's a year. And Shanim is plural. So if someone said to you, "How old are you?" you say, Yeshli Arbim Shanim, which is, I have, you're saying I have, or to me, or something like that. 40 years. You're saying you're 40 years old in English, let's put it that way, but you're doing it in the Hebrew. All right, so Shanat doesn't sit there. And the word Shanat is, not an often used word, but it's in the Bible. It means a prophetic period of time. It's not a calendar 12-month year. Now, this stumped me, and I made a mistake with this one years ago. Because it looks like Shana, they were saying when they interpreted the Bible, they were saying, oh, it means, year. It's another way of saying year. Well, it's not. It does give you a connotation of a prophetic time period that's not like when God said in Hosea 6:1 and 2 that the punishment on Israel was going to be 2 days. And Peter tells us 1,000 years is like a day unto the Lord. So we know now, in retrospect, obviously, that after 70 AD, when the temple was destroyed and 200,000 Jews were taken captive like slaves and taken back to Rome or Italy today, you um, that didn't happen in 48 hours. It's a 2,000-year punishment. Now, the other thing you got to remember is when you roll out of this punishment before you hit redemption, there's two other things that happen. I'm talking about coming out of the 2,000-year punishment. We already have. When he says 2 days, he's not giving you an absolute precise period of time, like 70 years in Babylon. In Babylon, the Babylonian captivity was a precise 70 years. This, I suppose we could say, was unprecise. It's more of a round, estimate, more or less. It's not extremely precise. He wouldn't do it that way if it was extremely precise. Okay, the regular people would read it and they say, "Oh, 2 days. Oh, I don't know when this happened. It must be over," right? You see, and then when you put it with Peter and you see how Peter tells you how to interpret this prophetic statement, now it makes sense. But we got out of that and we're in the Shanat of recompense, payback on the nations, Isaiah 34:8. Why? Over the controversy of Zion. That's what the land here is Zion. And Hebrew, it's Zion. Controversy is a very lousy translation. I would say fighting or strife. They're fighting with who? With us and God. They don't want God to fulfill his covenant to give us the land in Genesis 15 from the Euphrates to the Nile, which that piece of land is about 100 times bigger than the land we have today, which he refers to as Judah and Jerusalem. So when you're reading Judah and Jerusalem for these days, you can understand it to be now. You got to be careful with that, okay? But it's pretty much, you got to look for other things. I don't want to get into a whole discourse on that. Okay, so things are not what people think they are, So you got recompenses. And then the next thing is the day of vengeance. Now, this is a yom. That's the word for day. When you see somebody in America or in Great Britain, even you have a talk with them, and then you're both going your separate way, you might say to them, good day, right? Well, that's not so common in America or Great Britain today, but in Israel it's common. It's called Yom Tov. Have a good day. Well, you might tell somebody Leitrot Yom Tov. Well, Leitrot is, let me try to put it in street English. I'll see you later, I'll see you again, or something like that, right? And Yom Tov, have a good day. It's just like saying, I'll see you later, have a good day. Now, that's easy English for America. It makes sense. I'll see you later, have a good day, right? Well, that's, Leitrot Yom Tov, Now with the war, what they're doing, oh, I don't like this. They're running around and they're saying, good luck, referencing, I hope you don't get hit in the head with a missile, that type of thing. They shouldn't be talking like that. Good luck. They don't know any better. They don't know their left hand from their right. They're trying to be friendly and, So Netanyahu knew this was coming, I think. Okay, but let's start cutting wood. Let me tell you what it's going around in social media that the Saudis did. And I think it's real. And I'm not getting conviction from the Lord on this. And a lot of times I do. But I think I was getting conviction from the Lord when I came across this. And I was thinking, oh, this is just, somebody trying to do sensationalism to get clicks. Okay, but let's get into it because it is real interesting. So it helps if you do put real comments up, by the way. It helps if you subscribe. You can always unsubscribe. And it helps a little if you put a post in the chat. Not much, really. All right, let's get into our friends, the Saudis. I think they're the dogs of the Middle East. The scum of the Middle East. So I told you Erdogan threatened Israel. It says, on the day of ceasefire, Israel killed hundreds of innocent Lebanese people. Netanyahu is blinded by blood and hatred. This is coming from the guy who says, let's build a 5 million man army of Muslim Arabs and take Israel out and get rid of it. If it was not for Pakistan mediating the war between U.S. and Iran, we would have shown Israel its place. Turkey has the capability, this is him talking, Erdogan, to reach Israel with ballistic missiles. Turkey possesses a large arsenal and is developing advanced locally produced missiles like the Typhoon and I can't read that junk. Unlike Iran, Turkey also has the ability to launch an actual ground invasion on Israel. The border of Turkey is only 166 miles from the border of Israel. All right. Now, he goes on. It says, by any and every measure, military experts are united in their assessment that Israel stinks at infantry fighting. They've been losing to Hezbollah. This is so untrue. It's not funny. All right. So Erdogan is being a jerk. And, don't get deadly serious with this with Erdogan. He threatens very, very often. And I'm not so, certain that he's ever going to do anything about this. Coincidentally, the flotilla is formed again in Spain. Spain? Yeah, Spain. And there's several ships, I don't know how many yet, and they're having rough seas and storms, so they haven't departed yet, I believe. It'll take them a long time to come here from Spain. I don't know if that lunatic Greta Thurman transactional character is going to be there or not. I don't know. So they're talking about like that's going to matter. I don't know if it's going to matter. Okay, let's talk about what happened with Saudi Arabia. Okay, now I got to give you a very important bullet point before we start. This is not a little bullet point. This is like massive. Okay, I'm making sure we got a broadcast. A few weeks ago, Saudi Arabia signed a mutual defense pact with Pakistan. They both signed it. It was publicized. I covered the story. They both announced it. It's real as rain. You attack one, you attack the other. Okay. And that's one big honking reason why we saw Pakistan negotiating with Trump and the Iranian psychopaths. Okay. Was because Pakistan jumped into it because they don't want to get dragged into it by Saudi Arabia because Iran is attacking Saudi Arabia voraciously. But now the Pakistanis sent, I think, 13,000 soldiers to Saudi Arabia already, plus aircraft, pilots, aircraft. And I think that's just the beginning. And their relationship over this with Iran is now going, down to the bottom of the ocean. Iran doesn't think, well, it's okay, you did that, you're a brother Muslim. No, they'll kill him. They hate him for that. Okay? So now Iran is facing Pakistan because they keep attacking Saudi Arabia. And Pakistan intends to do something about it. At this point, minimally defensive anyway. But when you bring ground soldiers and aircraft in there, that doesn't sound entirely defensive, does it? No, it sounds like they're going to stage and drop some bombs on Iran. They know Iran's anti-aircraft defenses are Kaputsky. They don't have anything, so they can fly over there and bomb the jerks. And, if Pakistan is fighting Iran and Iran is fighting Pakistan, I want to wish them both well in their endeavors against each other. It's a joke. All right. Now we're going to get on to the thing with the Saudis. I'm building my case so you can understand why this is real. I believe it is. And my vision of what's real and not real is not based on, oh, Fox News said it, Hannity said it, Wall Street Journal said it. These are all Satan bot slobs, okay? All the press and that. I'm not very concerned with that. Okay. An urgent priority call from Saudi Crown Prince Shmukalovich, whatever the goof's name is, changed Trump's decision at the last minute. President Trump had intended to declare a complete ceasefire and end the fighting against Iran in exchange for the immediate opening of the Straits of Hormuz. So Trump was getting ready to walk away. Trump might have walked away and left the Straits of Hormuz closed if he didn't get spoken to. I'll tell you that right now. He had already started telling ships to show up at America and fill up with gas. So he's been doing that, with oil rather. He's been doing that. By the way, the LNG shortage is in a real critical condition. The Qatar or Qatar, whatever you want to call that schmuck country, they produce 20% of it. And they've been damaged so much by Iran, it's going to take them a long time, like maybe a year, 9 months, or I don't know, a long time. That could be 2 years to get their plants running again. So that's the gas you use in America in your hot water heater where you get water for your shower and your sink, you use it in your, you get little canisters and you use it for some of your outdoor barbecue things and stuff. You cook with it if you have a stove and an oven that burns flames. When I was a kid, the ovens burned flames. They had actual flames in the oven. That's rather fire prone. Today, they just have electrodes, which aren't going to be that prone to fire, but probably the flames cook better. All right. So Trump was he had gotten to the point where I heard he was telling Iran, you want the $6 billion that we got frozen? Yeah, all right, I don't care. I'll give it to you, but you got to open up the straits. And they said no. Now, when you hear talks, oh, we got stuck on the nuclear. No, they didn't. That's nonsense. Let me tell you where they got stuck. Okay, the nuclear and the nuclear material, the few hundred pounds they wanted turned over, and Iran wasn't going to stop their nuclear endeavors. Yeah, that was a sticking point. Okay. The desire to control the Persian Gulf through the Straits of Hormuz and charge, a toll charge, which is $2 million a ship. That was outlandish and another problem. The fact that Iran would not agree to stopping the support with money and weapons of their proxies and their proxies creating attacks and wars and stuff like that, they wouldn't give that up. They wouldn't give up their missile cities and production of ballistic missiles. And that's very, very important to Trump because the Iranians were going to try to get their missiles to reach all over Europe. and then, extort and bleed the European countries. And Trump didn't want to have that. And they also wanted all the you got to get this one down. This one is important. It doesn't show up much in the mainstream news, but it did make it in there. What Iran was doing is telling Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, Saudi Arabia, you want to move oil through the Persian Gulf. You could only do it if you're pricing the oil in euros or Chinese yuan, no US dollars. So Iran, listen, this is super important because Iran was going to use their control of the Persian Gulf, the Straits of Hormuz, to break America's back financially because they were taking a major piece of the world's oil, 20 to 25%, okay, and forcing it to be sold off the US dollar, which would weaken the US dollar even more. Okay? And that put Trump in the trick bag, and he couldn't do it because it would wreck his country. But let's go on with Saudi Arabia. So the schmucko prince of Saudi Arabia begged Trump not to stop the war. This is the leakage. This is a historic opportunity. We must finish the job and weaken the Iranian regime once and for all. Is this inconsistent with Netanyahu? No, it's dead on with Netanyahu. Is this the type of rhetoric you're going to be hearing from Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, probably not Oman, and probably Jordan? Yes. Yes. In exchange for continuing the fighting, Saudi Arabia offered an unprecedented package that was financial and strategic and political and diplomatic and everything to Trump. And this is essentially what it was looking like. $100 billion transferred directly to finance the American war costs. Now, that probably wouldn't cover it all, but it did a bite. Now, I do not believe for a minute that Saudi Arabia did this by themselves. I believe they received money minimally from Qatar, the UAE, and most likely Kuwait. Bahrain, I don't know, probably kick in a little, and Oman, I doubt would kick in, and Jordan, probably not, or very little. But Qatar, UAE, and probably Kuwait would throw in a lot of this money with them. So they were just staying off in the shadows because they didn't want to have Iran come clobber them. Okay? They said they agreed to full and immediate normalization with Israel after the fall of the regime. So they were being very coy. They say after Iran's Kaputsky, yeah, we'll do the Abrahamic with Israel. It goes further. They agreed to make a direct oil pipeline from Saudi Arabia to the port of Ashdod in Israel, turning Israel into a major energy hub, not a producer, not a seller, a hub. Minimal money coming to Israel. Believe me, we're not going out and buying Netanyahu Rolls Royce limousines. Nothing like that. Okay, so why would they do that? well, Trump and him probably had conversations, and Trump said, listen, your buddies over there, which is Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, and Jordan, can't take care of themselves. You're running pipelines over there. You already did it, and you lost your pumping station for the pipeline, and the pipeline wasn't able to produce, and now you got it back online. Um, but you do something like this, and then oil prices spike, and there could be all kinds of problems. So the only country that can take care of itself over there in the Middle East without us is Israel. Put your pipeline there, dude. He goes, okay. It makes sense. And Trump wants the Abrahamic Accords badly. And him and Hegseth and Rubio, are extremely happy with Israel as their ally. They repeatedly say that. They love us as an ally. Okay? Um, so they want to help and they want to pay back. Trump pays back. One thing about Trump is if he asks you to do something and you do it, and he'll pay, and he says he'll pay back, he'll pay back. No, Trump will pay back. He understands that kind of dialogue and that kind of operating, and now he's trying to pay Israel back. Investment of approximately 1 trillion in the U.S. economy and purchase of 500 billion of American weapons. Look, Saudi Arabia and these other countries have been begging to get the American weapons. They want F-35s. They want more Patriots. They want different things, okay? Yeah, you'd have to beat them off with a stick after this Iran episode for them not to want to buy all that stuff. The 1 trillion is probably being coughed up by the whole bunch of them together. Or the 500 billion in weapons could be strictly Saudi Arabia doing this. See, these lunatic, derelict pieces of garbage kings squatting in our land, pumping our oil. The Saudi royal family is afraid of losing their fiefdom. Iran overruns them. They're gonna lose their heads. They're gonna get hung or shot or thrown off a roof or something, right? After torturing, maybe. And they know that, and their families will get wiped out. They don't want that. So they're trying to buy it with money. It goes on. Establishment of a new regional defense alliance, including Israel, Saudi Arabia, and other moderate countries under an American umbrella. This is Trump telling them, I don't want to keep coming back. Okay? Stop fighting with Israel and they'll help you. They'll sell you weapons too. Just cut that crap out. Go Abrahamic Accords, make friends with Israel, and they'll help you. And I'll oversee the whole thing, and then I won't have to come back here. Look how many times in the last, 3 years I had to keep coming back here. Then he's saying he wants a joint naval force to control the Straits of Hormuz and okay, so the Straits of Hormuz. All right. So Trump again, this is all making sense. He wants the Hormuz Straits being stabilized a long time because he's planning in the back of his mind of doing something with Iran more or less along the lines of the new administration where Chevron and Exxon and his buddies control the oil over there. That's what the plan is. Now it talks about Saudi funding a strategic U.S. base in Israel. A base is not that much money to build. Why would Trump want to build a base in Israel? Easy. His base in Qatar got hit numerous times. His bases in Iraq got hit numerous times. In Bahrain, they got hit numerous times. In Qatar, they got hit numerous times. In the UAE, they got hit numerous times. They don't have any in Oman. They got hit in Saudi Arabia numerous times. And in Jordan, I'm not so sure. Probably not much of anything. Okay, so Trump would like that. He doesn't have to pay for it. And the base is going to be way the heck more secure there than any place else in the Middle East, as he learned by experience. And it's also going to work as a deterrent for anybody attacking Israel. And Netanyahu would want this as compensation for the great service he just paid to Trump. He did. I mean, we did 10,000 missions, for crying out loud. Okay? He did 13,000. Joint reconstruction for a post-regime secular and modern Iran. That's fluff. I don't know exactly what that means. That's fluff. In the end, Trump announced a temporary ceasefire, not an end to the war, as was expected. And that is what Trump did. He said, yeah, we got a ceasefire, but any day now I could go in and bomb the daylights out of them. I need 1 day to wipe them out. Trump is do I think Trump's going to go in there and do it? Yeah, well, I don't know if it's Trump for sure, most likely. But somebody's going to knock the daylights out of Iran so bad they got to leave the country. Look, the blockade's going to cost Iran food. Yeah, they can grow food. They could bring food on the ground. They could try to get their neighbors to let the food in with trucks. There's stuff they can do. Okay? They got a water problem as well. Let me tell you about what year are we talking about? 1992. I'm in Israel, and this is what I heard. This is a long time ago, 92, 2002, 12, 22. It's almost 35 years ago. Okay? I heard this, almost. Saddam Hussein was another, not a very devout Muslim. He was more of a schmucklim. You know, he would say he was a Muslim, but he wasn't much of a Muslim. And he was a tyrant in Iraq. He decided one day that he wanted Kuwait to be Iraq. George Bush Sr. was in the White House. And Saddam invaded Kuwait. The Kuwaiti, they call their dictator an emir, E-M-I-R, I believe. You got emir, you got sultan, You got king, you got supreme leader, Khamenei. It's all the same thing, dictator. The king's a dictator. You got a difference. Come on, what's the difference? Nothing. So what was happening? The Kuwaitis, who are a worthless sack of manure, okay, they had a mirror back then. I remember the day, it was Thursday, maybe it was Tuesday, I think it was Thursday. Their Quran allows them 4 wives. I think it was Thursday, he would divorce one of his wives and get a new wife. And he would put the old wife in some big mansion palace he had that they would stay there forever. So he would have them for a week. Under the Quran, all they got to do is go to the woman, look at her, and say, I divorce you. It's over. That's it. It's not so different than with Moses' law, where he would just the guy would hand her a letter, I divorce you, basically. And that was it. So all you people that like Moses' law and don't think it ever changed, how about that part? Oh, that's a sticking point. You won't go against that, But if I tell you, that Yeshua not only changed that, he changed the dietary laws, he changed many things. You start choking on that. Shame. It gets in the way of you understanding the Bible clearly, like Acts 10. All right, back we go. So, I remember I was in the gun business. I was sitting at my desk. We had a store, and I heard it on. We used to have a TV in the storeroom, in the showroom, and I had the TV on. It was up in the corner of Pi, and I was kind of more listening to it than watching it. And it was going about. He said. I'm going to go in and, get Saddam Hussein and throw him out of Kuwait and all this stuff. I'm not going to tell you when, but I'm going to do it. See, he was smart. I'm not going to tell you when. Trump should learn from that jerk. He starts telling everybody the day and the hour, and then he winds up facing human shields. Okay, so Bush assembled a massive amount of force. 6 aircraft carriers were there, multiple battleships. We had battleships back then with 16-inch guns, 9 16-inch guns. They fired a 2,000-pound artillery shell out to 25 miles. One of these shells would knock out about 3/4 of a city block, like there'd be a big hole in the ground, And lots of troops. There was hundreds of thousands of troops, tanks, planes. Other countries came with us. A few. I think Great Britain was involved. And I knew a guy that was a tank driver in the war, and he told me literally, he was a career officer retired, and he said to me, he wasn't an officer, he was a sergeant, and he was a non-com, and he told me that they attacked. He said they were told that the troops were weak and sloppy, and he says they had one, I don't know what they call them, Imperial Guards maybe, or something like that, his elite army. And this guy told me that they told us they were no good. He said when we got there with their tanks and stuff, they were real good. He says they just tell you that so you don't get scared. When you get over there, you see they're really, really good. And Saddam had hauled gold and jewelry and all kinds of things, cars, Rolls Royces, all this kind of stuff out of Kuwait, and was stashing it in Iraq, and they had to give that back. And, so I was told when I was in Israel back then that Kuwait gave Bush, not the United States, Bush, $100 million to get his country back. Now, 35 years ago, $100 million was pretty close to $1 billion, at least a half a billion. You know, a lot of money. And it was real easy to move money in foreign banks back then. Not hard at all. Back then, Israel had numbered accounts. I went in and spoke to the bank about it. And I said, how does it work? I want to offer this service to people in America. And the guy, the branch manager, was very warm and welcoming. He had good English. Had me go sit down in his office, and he says, this is how it works. They come here, they show me their American passport. I make a copy of it, and I put it in my safe in the branch. I don't put it in any computer system. It's physically inside my safe here in this branch only. So you're going to have a heck of a time getting that out. You're going to have to get a court order from an Israeli court to open that up. And that's going to be a heck of a lot of evidence to get that to happen. And he's right. And you get a numbered bank account. So when it goes the name of the account, it would read like 02476YZ9, something like that. Or maybe no letters in it, or it would have letters. Probably have a couple of letters to make it more difficult if anybody was going to try to do something with it. And when you could get checks for this account, okay? And your checkbook had no name on it. You might have a P.O. box address on there or something or nothing. It had no name, but it had an account number. And where it said name, you'd write your account number in, and it was printed on the check, your account number. That was who you are, a number, okay? And you would write who you're going to pay it to, so you could put in there and say, Esposito Bakery Incorporated or something, whatever it was, right? And you would, if you were going to put in there, 5,230, it didn't say dollars, it didn't say shekels, it didn't say anything after the amount. It had a line, and you would write in there British pounds, euros, Japanese yen, Swiss franc. It had 6 or 7, I think there was 7 currencies, US dollar. You wrote the currency you wanted to denominate the check in. This is how Israel was banking. Do you think there was a lot of Americans banking in Israel back then? You answer that for yourself. That's what offshore banking was like when I heard that they paid, that was what Bush got paid, okay? An Arab told it to me, and he probably picked it up from the Arabs. Okay? So that's goes into the pot too. But all right, you give me a better reason why Bush would go help a schmuck dump country like Kuwait that's a good for nothing ally. Why would they go after it? To help it to such an extent. That's why. I used to know a guy that knew the Bush family. He was friends with them, and he was over at Bush's house. And he told me he was there once, and the old man was screaming at the kid. That's the Bush Jr. that became president years later. and he was an alcoholic. He just stayed drunk all the time. And the father screamed at him and said, we're not Kennedys, we work. And that was before he had all that money. This creature was hanging around by the book depository out there where Kennedy got shot. There's pictures of him standing around in the street waiting for Kennedy to come. Now, normally he was already a congressman or a senator at that time. Why would he be standing in the street waiting? He would normally be in a building or something waiting to meet Kennedy formally. Congressmen and senators don't usually stand in the street to watch the president drive in a motorcade. But why was this jackass standing there watching it? He was standing out in the street watching it minutes before Kennedy got his head blown off. Do you think maybe, perhaps, just maybe he knew it was going to happen? Okay. We'll know if this story I just gave you is true or not by watching it unfold. Okay? We'll know. I've told you in the Bible, in the prophecies about the daughter of Babylon, there's a very unsettling scripture, you might say, about the daughter of Babylon doing evil in your sight. And I suppose I need to pull the verse up and read it to you, because I'm telling you it's there, so I will pull the verse up and read it to you. This thing is telling me it's not in the verses. I'll go to another AI. It's definitely in there. It's doing the same thing. It's telling me it's in Psalm 51, but it's not. All right, let me try to trick it. See, this thing is fighting with me. It doesn't want to do what I want it to do. Am I wrong about the verse? I don't think so. Let me try another AI. Yeah, it's in here. See, the thing lies to you. It tries to mess you with Bible doctrine. These AIs are problematic. I got it on the third one. Here's the verse. It's in there. I knew it was in there. Jeremiah 51, verse 24. And I will render unto Babylon and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea, that's America, Babylon, all their evil that they have done in Zion in your sight, saith the Lord. Okay? That's in there. It's Jeremiah 51, verse 24. See, it was purposely not giving it to me. So I asked it where the word evil appears, and it was telling me it doesn't. Then it does. You can't use AI. I mean, I use AI to look up verses based on keywords. Now that's even deteriorating. It's sad, really. You can't ever use AI to interpret scripture or tell you the meaning of scripture. It goes to the big sites, the churchianity sites, what they consider to be a reliable source, like with news, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, New York Post, New York Times, reliable sources. These are Satan bot run twisted sources. They're not reliable sources. They're the biggest liars in the world, or they wouldn't be in control. They're Satan's people. Terrible. So you got to watch yourself with AI, guys. Never use it to ask it, what does this mean in the Bible? You're really asking for trouble if you do that. Trump made a statement. I don't want to read the whole thing. He was calling what they're doing extortion with the Iranians, and it is. Soon a full naval blockade will be declared on Iran. No one will enter or leave the Strait of Hormuz will be closed to all. Iran will not make any money. At the right moment, our military will destroy what remains of Iran. That's Saudi Arabia. I mean, I'm happy Saudi Arabia did that. You know, I'm going to take a break for a minute. I'll be right back. I think Satan's getting AI worse and worse. There are websites that some of them are free, some you got to pay, and they have like 40 or 50 AIs you can use on there, so you can keep using different ones, but I think they're all twisted. Because the people making them are the companies behind them are Satan bot run, you know. Now, let's play with AI and see if we could mess with its head. Is there any place in the Bible where it says Israel will never leave the land again?
Yes, there are passages that are often interpreted that way. One of the clearest examples is Amos 9:15, where God says,
I will plant them upon their land, and they shall no more be pulled up out of their land which I have given them. Similarly, Ezekiel 37:25 says they will dwell in the land forever. Of course, interpretations vary. Some see these as fulfilled historically, others as future or spiritual promises.
Oh, it sort of gave us the truth there. Let's get into the real truth of this. So you never know what you're dealing with this, do you? I don't know. Here we are. Let's get into the real scriptures of this. This is for the people that say they're Christians and that are believing Israel's going to get wiped out, killed, run off the land, have to come back again some other time in the future and stuff like this. Okay. Amos 9:14 and 15. I will plant them upon their land, that's here, and they shall no more be pulled up out of their land, which I have given them, saith the Lord thy God. Okay, now that's a fulfillment that started already, probably with Balfour Declaration, and is going to enhance as we get more and more of the land back. Okay? Ezekiel 37:25. And they shall dwell in the land that I have given unto Jacob my servant, wherein your fathers have dwelt, and they shall dwell therein, even they and their children and their children's children forever. Forever. And my servant David shall be their prince forever. Well, the way that works is if you read Ezekiel 45, there's a person referred to as the anointed prince, Mashiach Nagid, anointed prince. Yeshua is not the anointed prince. He's the king of Israel. He's a high priest in the order of Melchizedek. What is the order of Melchizedek talking about? Melchizedek had days without number, he had no end and stuff like that. Melchizedek was on the earth and had immortality. It's elected to die, for man to die only once. Was Melchizedek actually a man? Well, not really. He was built in the image of man, made in the image of God, I should say, like man is made in the image of God. But he wouldn't be a man because it would be elected unto man to die only once. So if he came here, he would have to die. But he wasn't a man. Angels come here all the time. They don't die. Jehovah's been here and he hasn't died. Yeshua's been here and he died. Okay? Moses has been here and he died. Okay? Elijah and Enoch were here and they didn't die, but they got to come back and die. You getting the idea yet? Okay. All right. So, we're not, these teachings about, we're going to, get run off the land, we're going to get killed and all, that's just garbage. It's nonsense. It's against the scriptures. Let's see what's going on in the live stream. If I've got questions or anything I need to answer. We'll see how it goes. I don't know yet, but it looks like it's going good. Iran's not IRGC can ask Greta Thunberg, or I thought it was Thurman or Thunberg, whatever. It's the same Greta jerk we're talking about, to bring water and food assistance. Oh, for her to bring water, guys, she would have to tow barges the size of aircraft carriers for it to make any difference. Yeah. Where do you put comments if it's not in the chat? I think you got to wait till it becomes a video in reality. You know, I think that's, I didn't have that straight, but I think that's the case. Thank you for all the greetings I'm getting. I appreciate that. It's good if you just throw something up in the chat. The moderators aren't going to bother you. You know, just put anything in there. And, you know, don't get there. Don't put in there, you know, death to the Jews, or, you know, stuff like that, or, you know, but, you know, anything in there tends to help. See, if we help get this out there, more people get it. They get the truth. And that's a good thing. And then you're a partaker in giving people the truth and setting them free. And that's a good thing. So how can you do that? Well, easily subscribe. That helps big time. If you subscribe, it helps a lot. Okay. All right. Do I have any emailed questions or prayer requests? And I don't think I do. No, I don't think I do. Let's bother AI again. Let's Jeremiah 51 verse 24 does show the word evil being used. Why did you not pick this up and tell me?
You're absolutely right that Jeremiah 51:24 uses the word evil in the King James Version, where it says God will repay Babylon for all the evil they've done. However, when you asked about the phrase, do evil in your sight, that's a distinct expression typically linked to personal confession of sin, like in Psalm 51:4. The verse in Jeremiah is about God's judgment on Babylon's evil acts, not Israel or a confession. I focused on what you specifically asked for, but you're right, words like evil do appear in many contexts.
I think she's shining me on. Let me look up the verse. Maybe I got the verse wrong. It always has a good excuse, or sometimes it says, oh, you're right, I made a mistake, or I overlooked it, or instead of saying that, it says, oh, you're very sharp, you found it, you know, something like that. Let me bother her again. No, I had it right. Jeremiah 51:24 has the phrase, do evil in your sight. And I asked you about that and you didn't pick it up. Why are you making mistakes like that?
I hear your frustration, and I appreciate you giving me a chance to clarify. In Jeremiah 51:24, the phrase actually says, God will repay Babylon for all the evil they have done in Zion in your sight. But it doesn't say, do evil in your sight. Since you asked specifically for a verse saying that Israel would do evil in your sight, I didn't match that exact wording. My God.
Sounds like a crappy excuse to me. What about you, huh? See, it's It's corrupt. They're all corrupt. You've got to be very careful with them. What I do is say, and if I put a social media news thing in there, I used to say, is this true or not? And then they would say, no, it's not true. And they would say, because it's not in the big media outlets. Okay. So then I changed it and I put in there and say, I put the social media news clip in there, maybe 10 or 30 words. And I say, do we have any proof this is not true? And they don't. They go back, it falls back on the same thing. Well, the big media doesn't discuss it. See, it's not a real clean program. Okay. Now, how do you find a real clean one? Well, you got to really be moving in circles with people that use AI and they're, in contact with each other. And then you got to ask them if there's any that don't have a bias built into them and then go to it. Because if you ask AI, are there any that don't have a bias built into it, it won't tell you. See, they're programming these things. Remember, these are being done by big companies with money, and they got satanic ties, so they wouldn't be there. And they're doing what Satan wants them to do, and they're never going to give you a square shot. Now, does that mean that these things don't exist? No, they probably do. You just got to find the right one. It's not going to be easy to find. See, going to the mainstream media does not mean you're getting the truth. You have to be pretty stupid to believe that mainstream media only gives you the truth. Pretty stupid. So that, going back to the Saudi Arabia thing, everything adds up and makes sense with that one. So I think it is likely true, but we'll find out. Now, let me go. And, Trump always changes his mind. So, if Saudi Arabia actually starts wiring money into the Treasury or Trump or whatever, well, then Trump will be respective of that, I would assume. All the Arab countries that have the oil in the Middle East that have been attacked by Iran want Trump to finish it. What Trump has to do to finish it is get the missile cities, the missile launching sites that are fortified to stop working. There's a couple of ways to do that. One way is special soldiers with explosives and or heavy equipment like bulldozers, excavators, things like that. The big shovels that pull dirt out. That stuff can be transported in. The helicopters and aircraft and drones can clear out all the personnel of the enemy, of Iran's enemy, from the area, so they don't have to worry about getting shot with mortars and shoulder-fired missiles and bullets and stuff like that. And then they can go in with excavators and start putting those big metal shovels with the teeth on the fortified city and just ripping the ground away. And you're going to get in. You're going to get into the place. Look, it's inside mountains. It's not going to be when you go after the walls down there. They're not going to be 1,500-foot thick walls. That doesn't exist. You might have to go through 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 feet of wall, and then you're going to have a hole in the place, and they could throw tear gas in and force them all to come out. Then they could go in and just use satchel charges and blow it up. And the missiles will blow because they'll put charges right on the missiles. And then you'll have secondary explosions, and the place will be a wreck. That's why they're putting roadblocks or barriers up there to stop people from coming in. So the situation is very complicated, and my idea of what Trump is doing now with the blockade is not a bad idea. He's trying to see if the schmucks, the Iranians, will give it up just by having them lose their income stream. Okay, no money coming in. Now, that's not going to have an effect for a few weeks. But that could still be prophecy being fulfilled. That doesn't, it is. I mean, it doesn't make it. The story we read about with Elam in Jeremiah 49, starting in verse 34 to the end of the chapter being destroyed, does not say it'll happen in a day or two. You know, it's going to take time. Now, if Iran starts firing missiles and drones at any of the Arab countries or the Americans or the American bases or the American Navy ships, or trying to shoot American planes or attack Israel, the war starts up again. Okay? The Iranians know that, and that's their only leverage. So, does it sound like they're going to start the attacks again? Oh, yeah. They have no other leverage. And the Americans are bringing more and more weapons into the Middle East, more and more soldiers, and so forth. It'll take a big effort to take a missile city out. They might try to bring 400 or 500 soldiers over there to make a big safe zone for the soldiers operating the armored equipment that are going to rip the mountain open and get to the missile city. So they might be able to do 4 or 5 missile cities a day. Probably more like 2 or 3. And we think there's 40 to 50 unless more pop up we don't know about. Let me tell you this again. This is the rule of construction for security. Okay? Anybody that does security construction will tell you the same thing. The only way to keep the bad guys out of your facility is if it's so secure you can't get into it either. Because if you can get in, they can get in. That's the reality. So the Americans are definitely going to be able to get in. Okay? Now, do the Iranians have like gun ports in the missile cities and they're going to stick machine guns out and shit? No, they don't have anything like that. I don't believe they have any aggressive defensive measures in these missile cities. They're going to make sure there's no landmines there, but that's easy. Just drop a few 500-pound bombs around the place. And if there's any landmines, they'd go off from the the intense shock waves, most likely. It's not that hard. They have ways to fly. They got these big Skiorski helicopters with double rotors that can carry, I believe they can carry 80,000 ton tanks. They could carry bulldozers and stuff too, and excavators. They could come, listen, they could come with a boring tool, BORING. Okay. This is some big thing that maybe looks like a corkscrew, but a corkscrew that's 3 or 4 feet wide, or 2 feet, and they could just start like what they used to dig for oil, and they could just put it in the side of the mountain where the missile city is. They have enough equipment, they could know exactly where, when they get closer to where in the mountain it is, and just bore through. Okay. And the dirt gets moved out, so when you get inside, you've got an opening in there. Okay. And then what you could you do? You could do all sorts of stuff. Like shove explosives in there. They blow up, and you're gonna most likely get secondary explosions from the missile cities and have fires, and you're gonna kill the people in there, and the thing's gonna collapse on itself. These things are designed to take blast from outside. With all those layers of concrete on top of the missile city, you're going to stop bunker buster bombs, right? Sure you will. With the walls of the mountain and maybe thick reinforced concrete walls in the place, you're going to stop bombs, landing on the side. But what the schmuck-Iranians didn't figure on is that secure facility is going to keep the blast force contained inside their missile city. And it's going to destroy everything inside it. That's what's going to happen. Okay? It's going to wreck it. So they might not, or maybe they'll just throw tear gas in. Look, an easier and better way of doing it is get a big, all you need is maybe a 1 foot, 18-inch hole into the place. You go through all the concrete and everything. You just painstakingly do it. It may take 3 hours, and you get in, and then you start putting you put a hose with some sort of toxic tear gas in there or something like that. Not something that's going to kill them, something that's going to make them have to come out of there. Just pipe it in and wait till they come out. Or if they don't want to come out, they could stay there and die. That's a right they have. That stops the launches, and then you've got to disable it so nobody else could come in. You can't have another crew come in, so you could shove explosives in there and then blow it. Maybe they had a bigger, drilling machine, and they could make an opening that's, 3 feet, like that, and the guys, or 4 feet, and the guys can crawl through the opening and get in the place, and they might have to shoot a few of them. But that's dangerous for the special forces. They don't. Maybe they just want to dismantle it with kinetic, force from equipment. Just attack it that way and get it to collapse. Or maybe they want to, rip open the doors when they find the exits and entrances. They could use the heavy equipment, like the big excavator bucket, with the big teeth on it, and it's 2 inches of steel or an inch of steel, really hard steel, and they could just start prying the door open, or dig out the dirt around the frame of the door and then pull it out. I mean, you could get it, you could blast it out. If you expose the dirt around the frame and then just everybody evacuates, you get the equipment out of there, and you could put, 500, 1,000 pounds of explosives there right in contact with the wall, and boom, and that's it. And then once you get the door open, you've got a lot of choices. You could fire artillery in there, fire machine guns in there, put lots of tear gas in there. You could flood it if you could get a way to get water in there. You could also cement them in with your own structure that doesn't open, it doesn't have a door. We have these bombs that we put in the tunnels of Gaza in the entrances, and they kind of blow up like it looks like a sponge, but it's hard concrete and it clings to the walls. You can't just push it out easily, and it just fills it up, and it stops movement. So maybe that's the way to get through these things, not bombing them another way. And the Iranians are afraid of that because they put road blockades up to stop vehicles from getting close to there. Maybe they're going to take mobile artillery or tanks and just park 4 or 5 tanks by a missile city, and they could just start firing artillery in the same, let's say, 8-foot circle. 4 or 5 tanks fire, 15, 20 shots each, and then they go take a look at the damage, and then they do it again, and they might have to do it again. It may take an hour and a half, and then they just get in. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do for sure. When he gets rid of the missile cities, Trump's in a different position with them. Okay. And that different position is probably going to result in something like boots on the ground capturing them. So that's what's going on. I'll get a prayer out for us. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I pray for me and my wife and all the true believers in their households, that we would have your strength, stamina, and endurance from you, and we would have your healing and recuperative power flowing through us, healing us as needed, anywhere it's needed in our bodies. And we pray for our animals and pets to be safe and secure and happy, healthy, and whole. We pray for the peace of Jerusalem. I pray we all know the scriptures better. I pray I can do better videos. I pray for the offerings to increase. I pray for those of us that need to find work, like a job, get good jobs. Those of us that have bad jobs and want to get better jobs and work at that, I pray they get those better jobs. And I pray that we all have adequate finances and then some extra. And I pray that those of us that work for ourselves and need clients and customers, we have a very adequate amount of those. And I pray for the peace of Jerusalem. I pray we don't take any more damage and we don't take more destruction, and the missiles and the drones stop coming in from anybody. Let me think. And I pray things go well for us. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And spiritual warfare. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, my Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I loose off of all the true believers and our households any witchcraft or sorcery. It's gone off of us. It has no value, no effect, shall never return again for all time. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And I loose out of any person in any of our households, any unclean spirit in them is kicked out immediately, never to return unto them again ever. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. That's in case someone in your household has an unclean spirit, okay? And please pray I get all my packages, including the new tablet, which could even be here tomorrow, I hope so. That's it. Well, let me pray and you can agree. That might be more powerful. But my Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I pray for all the packages, my packages to get delivered quickly and successfully, especially since there's a break in the bombing and the airport's open. And I pray there's no problems associated with that or difficulties. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with that. That's what I got, and I send my my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and I'm out, and I hope you got something from this. And remember, anything could flare up at any time. So if we see something major going down, I will do like emergency live stream updates, and they'll be in the channel, and they won't send out more than one notice a day, so you won't get a notice. But I will also put it up on Telegram. That's it, guys. I'm out. Thank you.